Good afternoon. I teach at the master's level at AIM, so I teach in several programs, but we have two programs. The Master of Entrepreneurship, which is for people who already have businesses, and we have the Masters of Science in Innovation and Business, which looks at how you can innovate in business. Now, I'm not here to talk about that. I just mentioned that to tell you that I have done some work with entrepreneurs and with innovators. And I'm going to talk to you about management innovation and also talking to you about education. If you look at the lower right-hand corner, there are 22 slides. I'm going to try to get them done quickly so that we can have a Q&A because I have another meeting in Makati at about 3:30. So I may have to leave by around 3 depending on the traffic here. I'll use Waze and let's see how reliable that is. We're going to get a quick look at innovation in management, and then I'm going to spend some time on education. So half the slides have to do with management and the other half have to do with innovation. Can we click on okay, so this one you're all familiar with, right? You all know Grab. What's important about innovation in management is it's not just products, it's processes, it's networks, and it's an app. So if you look at that Grab, you can see not only does it provide you the services of a taxi, there's Grab Food, there's also tie-ups, networks with Toyota. Grab just took over the Uber franchises here, and Grab uses an app. So when you look at innovation now, innovation is a whole system. It's not just buying a taxi cab and becoming a taxi driver in Metro Manila. It's all of these things. So organization is important, and a company like Grab has been very successful. As it says in there, taxi, car, bike, express, all in one app. They provide food, they provide service. They're trying to become the one-stop shop. So this is what's happening in management innovation, and Grab is, I picked that example because it's something we all know about, and it's something that people are trying to imitate. You don't just set up a taxi service, you set up an entire system. Next slide, please. Okay, there are two examples. How many of you used Airbnb when you travel? Have any of you used Airbnb? Okay, what's Airbnb? Sorry, you are?
My name is Luigi, sir.
Okay, so what's Airbnb?
Airbnb is an application where you could use to book your flights through your cell phone.
So Airbnb is thanks. Airbnb is not only provides space for you, it's what they call an infomediary, an intermediary, and basically it competes with hotels. But look at what I picked this particular symbol for two reasons. One is it deals with international travelers. And secondly, if you look at the next slide, what BNB is saying is belong anywhere. So it's not just selling a room, it's selling a community. It's selling a service which brings you to a particular place, and it brings you to a particular house, and it makes you part of a traveling community. So again, that's what the innovation is. The innovation is not just a product. The innovation is also a process. It's also a network. And Airbnb again has become very successful in this. It's also entrepreneurship because Airbnb and Grab, the employees for their houses and their drivers are not employees, they're actually mini entrepreneurs. And of course, the most innovative is the Tesla car. We're not going to talk about that because that's having its own operations problems, but it's an innovative concept. Again, the point that I want to make in these first few slides is that when we look at innovation, we're not going to say, I'm just going to build a better product. I'm going to build an entire system which allows me to network, which allows me to have partnerships, which allows me to build a loyal group of customers. And these are the people that will give the best word of mouth. Word of mouth is important in innovation. mainly because you're not going to be able to spend money to buy a ₱500,000 TV advertisement. You can do it through word of mouth. Facebook is one of the important ways by which people now communicate. Social media is now a tool for spreading innovation. Next. Okay, this is interesting. I don't know if it's not yet available anywhere except in the United States. It's called Amazon Go. How many of you use Amazon? You know what Amazon is, right? It's like Lazada. But Amazon is another example of an innovator that has built a network. Amazon Go is, they bought a supermarket in the States, a chain called Whole Foods. And what happens with Amazon Go is you walk in, okay, you have your iPhone, you put your iPhone in the scanner. When you scan the food, there are RFID files. You scan the food, and then you walk out. You don't carry anything. There's no lines, no checkouts. You can use your Amazon Pay or Apple Pay. So again, it's an entire system, and they've taken over. It's what they call clicks and bricks. Clicks is the virtual part. Bricks is the physical part. So it's like you went to Rustan supermarket, and instead of going there and dragging out the delivery bags, you go there with an app. Everything has got a code in it, a barcode in it. You order it, and you walk out, and they'll deliver it to you. If you remember, for Amazon Prime, delivery is free. So this is an entirely new concept in shopping. No delivery carts, no physical movement. Everything is done through an app. The next phase is they're now building supermarket vans, wherein the food will go to you. So in effect, it's like you put in a sari-sari store inside a 6x6 vehicle, goes to your house, you open the vehicle, it's refrigerated, and you can pick vegetables, meats, etc. So the whole point is that innovation is a system, and it's also evolving. Amazon started selling books, now they sell everything. Now they're even selling food. So you can see how innovation has moved from product to process to network, etc. Next. Okay, now let's move from the large firms to the smaller firms. This is something that I'm more interested in, and that I'm more excited about. The next two slides. The first thing is there's a group of students at Stanford's Innovation Center, and what they did is this group of students, they went to Nepal, and there was an earthquake in Nepal, and they were involved with emergency services in Nepal. One of the things that they noticed is that it was very difficult for a woman who had just given birth to bring the child to a clinic. It may take more than one day to go from the rural area to a clinic, and this is a premature baby. When you go to the clinic, they may not have the mechanical and some of you are nursing students, so you know what it's like. They may not have the mechanical device. These things can cost anywhere from $20,000 to $100,000. So they were asking themselves, what can you do to keep the baby warm during the time that it takes from delivery? Remember, these are premature babies. From delivery to the time that they can get to a hospital. So they developed a very simple device called the baby warmer. Okay? It provides a constant temperature, does not have any power supply. You just use a warm pack. You put the baby inside, okay? And it can heat for an hour and a half. It'll warm to 37, and it's good for 6 hours. So that's a very simple innovation that saves lives. And by the way, these Stanford graduates, the Stanford students graduated. They set up a company, and they're now selling this product. So this is an example of a simple innovation, which came just from an idea of how can we help premature babies without having to spend on an incubator anywhere to up to $100,000. That's not a Philippine innovation, but the next two you're going to get are Philippine innovations. And if you know what this is, and if you know what that is, it's Okay, it's a Filipino amphibious tricycle called a salamander. It's now under patent, so if you go to the website, you can find it, but they're still trying to patent it. What is it? It's an amphibious. That's obviously an advertisement. It's not meant for the deep sea. What do you think it's meant for? Yes.
For island hopping.
No. Keep going. What is it meant for? What need does it fill? Anybody? What need does it fill? Of course, you can use it for tourism, but that's not the main purpose. Okay. It's you, yeah. That's right, for floods. It's used for disaster relief. Wait, think about it. Okay? If the water is 1 meter, okay, you can if the water is 1 meter, you can use a 6x6 truck. If the water is 2 meters, you have to use a pontoon boat. You can't use a 6x6 truck on 2 meters of water. And you can't put a pontoon boat in 1 meter of water. It doesn't work. So this one does two things at once. It'll work on 1 meter of water. It'll work on 2 meters of water. It can carry several passengers. They're trying to come up with a bigger version. It's electric, by the way. And also you can carry goods. What happens when it gets flooded? What does the family want? They want to bring their TV set. They want to bring their dog. So this is an amphibious vehicle which does the job of and it's cheaper than having a pontoon boat or a 6x6. So it does two jobs in one. So it's an innovation, and it's not expensive, and it's under patent. That's why they don't. You won't hear too much about it. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, this one. Who's this guy? Who's this guy? And who's this lady? Aisha Miyano. She's the one who invented this thing. Basically, it's a lamp that works on salt and water, sorry. And when you think about it, that's a very simple invention. And she gets a picture taken next to the former president of the United States and probably one of the richest men in the world. So you can have a simple product that can still create the kind of attention. I don't know. This was in when APEC came to the Philippines. I think in 2018 or 17. I don't know if you saw the TV. They invited her, and so Barack Obama talks to Jack Ma and says, "Jack, that sounds like a good idea. Would you invest in it?" And of course, what's Jack Ma going to say? No, I'm not going to invest in it. So that's the kind of thing an innovation can do. You don't have to have a very sexy or glamorous product like a Tesla. You can have something like a saltwater lamp, which can get the attention of people who might be interested to invest. So aim high. Don't just think about the innovation awards here. Aim for something that you can do that's bigger and better. That takes care of about. I'm trying to move quickly and talk fast. Can you follow me? Yeah, because I want to leave room for questions and answers. Aha! I'm losing my audience already. So we started off with products in the United States by big companies. Then we moved into smaller products, and now we're going to the smallest product that can still give you attention. So don't feel bad about simple ideas. They'll work. Okay, next, please. Okay, whoops, next. Let's finish that one. Okay, cut before that. Sorry. So the next phase. So the first phase was products, processes, systems. The second part, before we get into the education, the second part is we're talking about evolution. It's an evolutionary progression. Innovation is not just one product. The product keeps improving. The process keeps improving. The system keeps improving. So the innovation runway, and this is just some data, UNESCO reported some years ago that if you can invest $1 in the youth, the multiplier effect is 10 to 15 times. So you move from inclusion and access, education and innovation, which is what we're here for, employability, entrepreneurship, and economic growth. So the point that I wanted to make here is that, which I inserted because of where I am here now in this college. Innovation is important. It has not only individual benefits to the entrepreneur, but it also has national benefits. The more innovators and entrepreneurs we have, the better the opportunity for economic growth. I'm an economist, by the way. Okay, next. Next. No, just keep clicking it. I wasn't sure what was working. Okay. Stop. Whoop, go back. Okay, innovation also evolves. Just like products evolve, I teach social responsibility, innovation, and this is one of the things that the BCYF talks about. Innovation evolves from CSR 1 to CSR 2 to CSR 3, and who knows what CSR 4 is going to be about. I'm not here to talk about corporate social responsibility. I'm here to talk about how even corporate social responsibility has to evolve and become more and more innovative. One of the important things now is what they call the social innovation ecosystem. It's something I've been talking about for the last 10 minutes. So the innovation system is what you're trying to build. And now corporate social responsibility is focusing on social entrepreneurship, is focusing on how they can create more innovators. Next, please. Okay, because there were nursing people here, I am doing some work with St. Luke's, and we are looking at how to design the patient room of the future. But I got that from a work done by two people in the Netherlands who did a study on what they call PROF, patient room of the future. How do you build the patient room of the future? Next slide. So what does it say? So what they did was they were looking at patient rooms. What are patient rooms like? Okay, nursing students over here. Yes, what is a patient room like? What's bad about a patient room? You're the patient. What's bad about the patient room? It smells bad. It smells like a hospital. What else? It's uncomfortable. Air conditioning doesn't seem to work. Sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's hot. You're intimidated. So one of the things that they wanted to do was they said, okay, what should a patient room look like? The patient room should look like a business class seat in an aircraft. Okay, it should be flexible. There's an open cocoon. You should allow 3 staff can look at it. Okay, you're not in a bed, but in a nice seat with an entertainment lounge. Okay, no more curtains to be washed and disinfected. No more noise. Okay, so the idea of an old-fashioned infirmary gives way to a feeling of safety. Now, obviously, St. Luke's is not ready to invest in a business class seat, but it's just an example of an innovation in terms of how we can treat patients better. Patient care is one of the important elements in hospital management and in your profession as doctors and nurses. Next. The next 3 slides. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's an example of what a patient recovery room will look like. Yeah, nice. Expensive. No, but in other words, that's like a prototype goal. Obviously, the real one is going to be more modest. But the whole idea was inspired by looking at the business class seat. Why can't a patient's bed look like a business class seat? Everything is available. Remember, this is about education. Next, please. So one of the things, here's the academic part. One of the things that we're talking about when we look at the patient room of the future is there are what they call anchor keywords and meanings. Important thing is comfort. There should be a minimum level of comfort. The next thing is privacy. They should feel at home in these rooms. Okay? Security, you should feel safe. When you're in a hospital, it's intimidating. Hospitals are for sick people. So what you want to do is you want to feel safe and secure in this place. It's just like when you're in an airplane, there's a big difference between economy class and business class. Business class, you feel like you're in a small house. Economy class, you feel like you're a sardine. Again, the idea of patient-centered care, PCC, patient-centered care, anti-loneliness. The thing that happens for patients is they feel lonely. They're usually what happens, they're in a cold room, they get the nurse or the doctor comes in, then leaves them. Okay? So they should be able to avoid loneliness. I can talk about that later. I'm doing some studies on dementia also. But anyway, it should not be stigmatizing. Okay? Patients who come in should not feel that they are weak or sick. They should not feel that they are being ashamed because they're sick. Okay? Then they should be able to take care of multiple generations. It's not just the patient, it's also the patient's parents, the patient's children. So many hospitals now look like hotels. What happens now is that sometimes if you've got a patient in one room, the children or the husband will book another room so that they can take care of them. So that's intergenerational. Then the idea of respect. How can you show a patient respect? You don't treat a patient as though they were just a tool to experiment on. And finally, flexibility. Rooms have to be modular. You don't have to have fixed rooms that are 8 by 12 by, we were measuring it, I forgot what the dimensions are. So those are the academic design requirements in terms of how you can innovate in developing the patient room of the future. Next. Okay, I think we're down to the last few slides. The important innovation in academic education is something called design thinking. I don't know if it is, but my own feeling is that should be mandatory in universities, the idea of design thinking. There's a big company called IDEO that does design thinking. I'm not sure if you take it up here, but I don't want to spend too much time on it. But the whole idea now is to look at anything that you do, product, a process, even the way I teach. I'll explain that later. For example, one of the things that I'm looking at is all teaching materials should be available on a smartphone. Nobody reads 30-page cases or textbooks anymore. Everything is done on a smartphone. So one of the innovations in education is every learning material should be in a smartphone. But there are constraints with the smartphone. It has to be readable. You can't have it very long text, etc. So design thinking is like that. You brainstorm. Let us design a hospital room. It should look like a business class seat. Okay? There's ideation. You have to create ideas. You have to make different variations of how you create your salt lamp. And there's prototyping. You build tests. So design thinking, the company called IDEO, has what they call the deep dive. I've got a 20-minute video on that, but I'm not going to show it here. The idea there is you stay focused. Okay? What is it that we're trying to design? We're trying to design a new way of shopping. Okay? Defer judgment. There is no wrong idea. All ideas have to be considered. Encourage wild ideas. But at the same time, have one conversation at a time. You can't have 10 people talking together. Right? And then build on the ideas of others. In other words, do not say but. Say yes and, not no but. Okay? Build on the ideas of others. And then the idea there is to fail often to succeed sooner. I'm pretty sure you don't want that. But the more often you fail in your exams, the more you will learn. But you don't want that to happen. So you should, because if you pass your exam, you're very confident. Oh, I passed. But if you fail, you ask yourself, why did I fail? Where did I go wrong? So fail often to succeed sooner. But the important thing is ask for forgiveness, not permission. Do something. If it goes wrong, I'm sorry. Don't go first. Can I do this? That's the difference between the entrepreneurial mind and the bureaucratic mind. And then there's the final one. A team's enlightened trial and error succeeds over the lone genius. Innovation nowadays is becoming a team project. It's not just you thinking of the idea. You work with somebody who knows how to create algorithms. You work with somebody who's a good mechanic. So it's usually a team effort that's involved in design thinking. And this is what they're trying to encourage now, not only in design thinking, but even in entrepreneurship. Next. Okay. Oh, no, never mind. That just came from that's just a quote. Okay. Again, we're talking about academic. Remember, I'm a teacher. That's basically what So what is design thinking? What is the team-centered approach for innovation? Okay. It starts with empathy. What does the customer want? What will satisfy the customer? What are they concerned about? Right? Then after you have empathy, you try to define what are we trying to solve. The customer doesn't like carrying heavy shopping bags. The customer is concerned because of spoilage, theft, loss, etc. So we designed Amazon Go, where everything is done through an app. Then you have, after you've defined it, you have to have ideas. Amazon Go was not the first. It was the last idea to date. It's not the first idea. They started out first by providing free delivery. Then they tried to make it. They tried to design a supermarket cart that was foldable. Eventually, they said you don't need supermarket carts. Okay? And then you brainstorm some more, ideate, create solutions, and finally, I can't read. Oh, make prototypes. So when they launched it, they first tested it on one supermarket chain called Whole Foods, and then they're now spreading it nationwide. And finally, continue to test it and then go back. So the cycle is always continuous and evolving. So innovation is always an evolutionary and progressive process. You don't just build one product and stop. You keep right on going. Next. Okay, generate wild ideas, build on the ideas of others. You have to distill ideas to make them viable, desirable, and feasible. That's the design thinking format of IDEO. Next. Build crude, dirty mock-ups. They call pivot, means keep on retesting. Next. Okay, there's another design thinker, it's called Gene Litka. By the way, I mentioned these two because they're easily available on the web. If you want to find out more about them, you just go to IDEO, or you just go to Gene Litka. She's one of the gurus of design thinking. I don't expect you to read this now. Anyway, the slides are available, but basically just to go through it. So there are 15 steps, but the idea is, what is it that we're trying to do? What if we can make changes? What wows? What is the aha moment? The aha moment was we can design a patient room of the future that looks like a business class seat. That was the aha moment. And then what works? Obviously, some things are too expensive. Some things are not going to work. But in the end, if you go through the process, you'll be able to design an innovative product. Next. Okay, and these are her rules of thumb. Choose a burning platform. Now, there's something that's critical. The burning platform comes from this. I don't know how many of you saw that Mark Wahlberg movie about the North Sea drill platform that burned. So the burning platform is he either stays on that platform and gets burnt, or he jumps into the sea and freezes to death. So what choices do we have? You're caught between a difficult thing to do. So choose a burning platform. Try to create a story. So the story I was telling you is about, one story is about this lady who builds a salt lamp, and it becomes so well known that Jack Ma and Barack Obama talk to her on global TV. Now, care about speed. This is not the thing where you can lie down and think about it. You should always be doing something. When are we going to do it? When are we going to get it done? And then try to have a big goal. I want to have a salt lamp which can be used by every poor Filipino and household in the rural areas. Okay? Then the worst thing about teamwork is sometimes you can't move fast. So you've got to agree on the criteria. Who's going to decide, when do they decide, etc. Now, when they say set public deadlines, you need to be prodded by another person, not just yourselves. So for example, not to plug, in other words, this is the problem with Tesla. They keep making promises they can't keep. But they're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to set goals, and they're trying to meet them. Okay, it's better to experiment rather than debating. It's learning by doing. Okay, don't wait for perfection. Share ideas, even if your innovation is not ready yet. Even if your lamp doesn't quite work, you still maybe it uses too much salt water. You still have to work on it. Then let others validate your ideas, and be sure to talk about your failures, because you learn from failures more than you do learn from success. Success makes you complacent. Next, I think we're down to the last two slides. Okay, this is the conclusion. So, in terms of management education, what's happening in management education? It's design thinking, it's innovation, it's evolution, and so these are the 5 steps to innovation. Okay? Empathy, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So if you kind of follow that discipline, the idea there is that you will come up with a viable product sooner. Okay, next. Okay, now, this is not intended for you, this is intended for your faculty who are not here. Curriculums are also evolving. The entrepreneurship and innovation curriculum is also evolving. And this is a simplified version. The idea there is you have faculty for the classroom who are going to teach innovation and entrepreneurship. There's a lot of field work and on-the-job training. You need people who are data analysts, programmers, who are math and physics graduates. They should be in the hard sciences, electronic, engineering, industrial, mechanical. Because you want to have customer engineering applications, homes, buildings, roads, and bridges. So the curriculum is now changing. You spend more time on the field and less time in the classroom. You spend more time understanding how customers think. You need certain skills. Obviously, you need to speak English. You need to be able to read and write. But you need certain hard skills. Not in Europe and in the United States, one of the requirements is that students should know Python. How many of you know what Python is? Raise your hands. Python. No, it's not the snake. What's Python? It's a programmable language. In other words, in my day, we learned something called Fortran. And now you use JavaScript. But they're saying in order to succeed, you better know how to write algorithms, how to do programs. So Python is one of the requirements of the new curriculum for big data analysis and for other things. This is in the States. We're not, and in Europe, we're not there yet, and in Japan. Now, the next slides are not that critical, good, because I wanted to finish so we can have Q&A. Don't worry about this. This is a curriculum that's being used by a university called Olin. So this is the year one, next slide. Year 2, next slide. Year 3 and year 4. So that's what a curriculum in innovation education looks like. And again, not for you, but more for your faculty members and your teachers to be able to look at. What does Olin do? They've teamed up with a university in the United States called Babson, which is well known for entrepreneurship. If you're interested in entrepreneurship, check out Babson. If you're interested in innovation as a college, check out Olin, O-L-I-N. So for example, what are some of the products that they do? They have one student who made an app for dentists. It takes a picture of your teeth. The picture gets sent to a database. So say, for example, you have an infected wisdom tooth. It takes a picture of it. The app goes directly to a database. And in real time, the analysis is, it's an infected tooth, surgery is required. It's not infected. You can just have it treated with a medication. And there's another student who developed an app in this university wherein how to improve safety in firefighting. How do you design an app so that firefighters are able to communicate in a burning building and able to help themselves and to help others? So there are many possibilities in innovation which are product and process based. I think that's the end of the slide. Next, yeah, that's the end. Thank you. Okay, I have to catch another appointment, but I wanted to do this fast so that I can take questions because I won't be able to sit in the panel, unfortunately. Now is the time to ask questions before I leave forever. Yes.
Okay, again, sir.
Yes, we have developed empathy. This guy just want to talk to me.
Sir, how do I improve my creativity so that I could think of innovations that could help me out in whatever?
Hello.
So that
Thank you for answering that question. You will enroll at AIM. That is how you can improve. Sorry about that. No, the thing is, that's why I gave you these things. Okay, remember, I'm a teacher, right? If I were an inventor and an innovator, I would be making 7-figure salaries. But no, I'm a teacher, so I teach innovation, I teach entrepreneurship. And that's why I gave this to you. Check out Gene Lidka, check out IDEO. But the whole idea is that I alone will not succeed. I need to build a team. So if you have access to the slides, check out IDEO, check out Gene Lidka, check out Olin, check out Babson. You guys are more adept at web searches than I am. I'm an old man at this. So, but the way to innovation is simply acquiring more knowledge, and maybe an idea will come in. Maybe you want to make a. I'm trying to remember which it was. The warmer. The original idea was electric blankets. Then they went into premature babies, and then they developed this portable warmer. So it evolved. So one of the ways to do it is to keep your eyes open for opportunities, or you enroll at AIM. Yeah. Okay. Next. Yes. Nobody wants it. One of the things that I'm studying at St. Luke's is triage operations. How to improve decision making in triage operations. You don't do this in an emergency room, right? How do you make a decision whether a patient is going to get this kind of care or not? So you have to look at innovations in processes. There's a more sophisticated one. Use your smartphone. This guy, I knew him a long time ago. Google David Wong, UCLA, saliva. Basically, what he's doing is he's using saliva the way we use blood tests. By spitting on the saliva, he can tell what kind of, he started out as a dentist, so he can tell what kind of gum diseases you have. He can tell, he's now moving to the pancreas and gastric and endoscopic diseases. So he's saying you can learn from saliva as much as you can learn from blood, and that's an innovation. By the way, he has a $10 million grant, so he's a little bit way above us. But there are ways to get innovation in all kinds of fields. Okay, anything else? Anything else? Quick. Raise your hands. Say something. What do they say? If you, they have this thing, if you see something, say something. Yes, the lady over there. Go ahead. I can take a couple over. Yes. Wait. Who's got the mic? Oops, it won't reach you. Speak with a loud voice.
I'm just wondering about your project on patient room of the future.
Yes.
Isn't it a little bit focus on the high-class hospitals. What about those in the
No, you see, that's the whole point. We start off with a high aspirational goal, and then we see how we can make it simpler. Like, for example, the more important example is that, for example, the idea of using mosquito beds, that to prevent malaria and dengue. That's a simple solution to a more complex question. That is merely aspirational. St. Luke is not going to build a business class seat, but they're going to say, how can we make it more comfortable? How many of you had an MRI at Makati Med?
For this first year.
Oh. When you lie down and have this MRI, they now have. When you're having your examination, when you're in bed, they now have all of these nice paintings to soothe you. They now have dentist rooms that are colored because they notice that colors have a very soothing effect on patients. You don't want the hospital room to look white because it looks like you're gonna die. On the other hand, there are nice colors like blue that people like. I was at the hospital in Phuket. I'm doing some work in Phuket, and they combine medicine with aromatherapy and Thai massage. So in other words, you have an aspiration, and then you try to see how it can fit the resources that you have available. Mosquito nets would be an example. Cleaner blood tests. Even something like simple as when you go to. How many of you have gone to SNR? You notice the lines are like that. They twist around. Maybe that's a way to improve patient waiting time. Instead of having them lining up linearly, you have them line up. That's design thinking. So the idea there is you have a big goal, but then you see how you can fit it to the resources that you have. One of the things I'm doing work on, well, of course, St. Luke's has a lot of money. One of the things I'm trying to work on is with PGH. My late father was a gastroenterologist. That's why I'm interested in what doctors do. For example, well, you're nurses. Anybody here doctors, pre-med? They are now working on non-invasive surgery. In other words, I had a gallbladder 30 years ago. They sliced me open. Now they can do it by melting gallstones, and they can do it cheaply. I have another set of slides, which is innovations in developing country healthcare, which is another set of slides about what people are doing in what companies are doing in developing countries. Things like mosquito nets. One of the big issues, for example, is certified medicines, because there's a lot of medical scams that go on in developing countries. So there are many ways that you can have a big goal and move it down. Okay, last question. I gotta go to another meeting. I'm hoping the traffic isn't so bad. I got somebody here, somebody there. How about here? Somebody. Why are you not looking at me? That sounds. When I walk into a classroom and they're not prepared, they're always looking down at their notes. Okay. Anyway, so remember, this is just one step in the journey. The BCI IWF Innovation Awards are one step in that journey, but I would imagine that a few years from now, you should be. Well, I don't know if that's a good idea. Next to Rudy Duterte being congratulated for an innovation. Or maybe Donald Trump. Okay? So I've got to go now. But the slides are available. They're in there. So thank you for your time. I hope you learned something. There will be a quiz tomorrow to remind you.